Hello everybody. Today we are going to discuss the behavioral school of management. So in the earlier sessions we had discussed the classical management theory, wherein we had discussed the scientific management theory as well as the Max Weber's bureaucratic management theory. And we had seen that at that particular point of time, the more focus was given on the productivity. So, productivity was the more focus during those days. So, this behavioral science it came into existence partly because the classical approach did not achieve sufficient production efficiency and workplace harmony. So there was a disharmony in the workplace, and neither the production was brought to that efficient level which they wanted. So something was lacking in that approach, that they were not able to get the highest productive efficiency. People did not follow predicted or expected patterns of behavior. So they did not find any pattern, that because we have seen that there the procedures were fixed. So despite having the fixed procedures, the productivity was not increased. So the human behavior was not predicted. The patterns of behaviors were not predicted. And this led to increased interest in helping managers deal more effectively with the people side of their organizations. So till now, the people side was not given the focus. The entire focus was on increasing the productivity, कैसे क्षमता बढ़ाई जाए. But the people who are adding to the productivity are being neglected. So till now we found that in the earlier theories, the people who are contributing to the work were neglected. So the behavioral school talks about the human side. So the group of management scholars who were trained in sociology and psychology and other related fields use their diverse knowledge to propose more effective ways to manage people in organizations. So they said, let us try to manage these people because these are the important source of increasing the productivity. So we cannot neglect this important part. The behaviors of these people, how, in which situation, how they are going to behave, that needs to be studied. And from here, the focus on the human beings started. So, this is also known as the human relation movement. And what do we mean by human relations? Human relations means how managers interact with other employees. So, how you are interacting with the people in your organization. Till now, this was not at all the focus, that how do you deal your employees, how do you talk to your employees. So this human relations movement, it came out from the early attempts to systematically discover the social and psychological factors that would create effective human relations. So if you want to develop the human relations, if you want to have this kind of efficient human relations, that means the social and the psychological factors should be brought in. If the human relations are good, definitely they will be able to contribute more. Like, if you are my friend, definitely I will do something for you because I have that kind of relations with you. I feel for you. But if I don't like you, then I will not be able to contribute. I will not be interested to help you out. So, the Hawthorne experiments were conducted at that time by Elton Mayo. So, this whole human relation approach had its origin in a series of experiments which were conducted by Professor Elton Mayo and his associates at the Harvard School of Business at the Western Electric Company's Hawthorne Works near Chicago. So series of experiments were conducted, and from this came out the human relation approach. So these studies which were conducted brought out for the first time the important relationship between social factors and productivity. So for the first time it was thought that social factors and productivity are related. Before this, the productivity of the employees was considered to be a function only of physical conditions of work and money wages paid to them. So before that, what was thought? If you give a particular physical conditions to the person, if you give money to the people, the productivity will be increased. ठीक है, इनको एक अच्छी सी जगह दे दी जाए to work, give them some money, अच्छा payment देंगे तो definitely the productivity will increase. That was the thought till now. For the first time, here it was realized that productivity does not only depend upon the money or the working conditions, but it also depends upon the satisfaction of the employees in work situation. So even if you are ready to pay a good amount, the people are not ready to work, because that is not the only factor for which the people are working. आप जो है लद्दाख में किसी को भेजिए और उसको बोलिए कि आई विल बी पेइंग यू 5 times the salary you are getting here. Where no people are there, he doesn't have anybody to interact. He will not be interested. So the only physical conditions do not determine the productivity. So this is for the first time it was realized that there is a relationship between social factors and productivity. Till now it was only thought that the physical factors and money can lead to productivity. So there were certain experiments being conducted in the 4 phases: Illumination experiments, relay assembly test room experiments, mass interviewing program, bank wiring observation room experiment. So you can read about these experiments if you get a chance. But in brief, I would like to say that in these experiments, if we talk about the first experiment, which was an illumination experiment, there they began to attempt to investigate the relationship between the level of lighting in the workplace and the worker productivity. कि lighting जो workplace में है उसका और productivity के अंदर क्या relationship है. So they tried to study this. So in this, the employees in the test groups, they were subjected to deliberate changes in lighting. लाइटिंग के अंदर चेंज किया गया, कभी तेज कर दिया, कभी कम कर दिया. सो दिस टेस्ट ग्रुप्स वर सब्जेक्टेड टू डेलिबरेट चेंजेस इन लाइटिंग. और जो कंट्रोल ग्रुप था, हुज लाइटिंग रिमेन्ड कांस्टेंट थ्रू आउट द एक्सपेरिमेंट्स. फाइन. सो वन ग्रुप वेयर द लाइट kept on changing, the illumination kept on changing. Another group where the lighting remained constant throughout the experiments. Now what do you think would be the result? The results of the experiments were ambiguous. When the test group's lighting was improved, because this was the group where the lighting kept on changing, when the test group's lighting was improved, productivity tended to increase. Fine. But when lighting conditions were made worse, there was also a tendency of productivity to increase in the test group. Means in both the cases, the productivity increased when the lighting was decreased and when the lighting was increased. And the controls group's output was also more. So that means there was no change of illumination on the work's performance. That means this physical factor did not had any contribution. They worked in a group. They all nicely worked in a group. Fine. So this illumination did not had any effect on it. Then there was another experiment. A small group of workers were placed in a separate room. एक अलग रूम में रखा गया. And number of variables were altered. ठीक है, अल्टरेशन किया गया. किसमें? Wages were increased. Rest periods of varying length were introduced. कभी 10 मिनट का ब्रेक दिया, कभी ज़्यादा ब्रेक दिया. So this kind of various rest periods were introduced. The work day and work week were shortened. Fine. So in this way, various variables were introduced. The researchers here acted as supervisors and they allowed the groups to choose their own rest period. उनको बोला तुम अपना खुद का rest period choose कर सकते हो. And they also said, if you have any suggestions, you can tell us. So here also, the performance tended to increase, though there was variations being done. Now, the sympathetic supervisor, those who were very considerate, they gave so much freedom, they were motivating their employees, and the researchers concluded that employees would work harder if they believed management was concerned about their welfare. So if you feel that the manager is concerned about you, then they will work hard. In one of the experiments, there were some employees who were working to a greater extent. बहुत ज़्यादा productivity देते थे. There were certain people who were slow and they were not able to produce that much. So what they did is, they all together came out to a minimum productivity level. कि हम सब मिलके जो 30 यूनिट से प्रोड्यूस करेंगे, बिकॉज दे डिड नॉट वांटेड दैट द पीपल हु आर स्लो वर्कर दे शुड बी reprimanded. So they said we all will have work together. So in this way, series of experiments were conducted, and this series of experiments, the outcome was that employees would work harder if they believed management was concerned about their welfare and supervisors paid special attention to them. Fine. So this is it. If you are having a proper group to work with, you will enjoy your work. Fine. But if you are kept in a controlled situation, then you may not enjoy your work. So in this, if we see that the informal work groups, the social environment of employees have a positive influence of productivity. So the work groups which is created in the environment, like if you are working in an organization and if you get along with the people over there, you will be motivated to go to your organization. But suppose you are not treated well in your organization. Suppose if you do not have any person to talk to you, then definitely your productivity will reduce. Though you are paid high, fine, but then you are not enjoying your work, which shows that social factors have a great role to play. You want friendship, you want your good co-workers. So all this give meaning to your lives, and this will lead to a greater production. So if you would like to, if you get a chance to work with your friends, and if you get a chance to work with laymen, obviously you will choose your friends, and that will enhance your productivity. So here Elton Mayo came out with a concept of social man. That man is a social being. He is motivated by social needs. Fine. He is motivated by social needs, not the money. He is wanting that his job should be rewarded. He is wanting that there should be good group with which he works. So, a human being is a rational being, and he is not only motivated by personal economic needs, but he is motivated by the social requirements, social needs. So, you cannot motivate a person by money alone. If you give the person a healthy social climate, if you behave properly with them, if you treat them well, if you give them a nice social circle, then you will be your productivity will increase. So if you will show that yes, I trust my employees, then the productivity will increase. But if you keep on doubting, you do not show that respect for an employee, though you are paying high, the productivity will not increase. Fine. So, this is the kind of thing, like, where uh, you would like to work in a social being. I'll give you one example. Long back, we had a professor from Australia, and she came to India. And she used to sit with us. She had come for some assignment, and we used to work. We were three people who were working as a project fellow in one of the project. So we three, we used to laugh. We used to constantly chat. As you know, in Indian culture, we will be working also, and we will be talking also. So we used to talk with each other. We will have laugh. We will enjoy, and we were working also. This lady was observing us, and one day she came to us and she said, how come you little ladies, you are always giggling and enjoying, and we in Australia do not have this kind of culture. We do not even look at each other. That's why, they will work for 5 hours, and then they have the weekends. Only during weekends they will enjoy. And we Indians, we are more into that social being. We want to enjoy. So even, if I do not have anybody, we would not prefer to sit alone in a room and work. We would like to have share our room and work. So this motivates us. The healthy and social climate motivates the human beings. If you are treated well, then your energies will be expanded and you will show good result. But if you are not treated properly, then the productivity will decrease. The another outcome of this theory was human relation theory was groups have more influence on workers than organization rules. So if you have a good group, and if you can convince the group, that will have more effect rather than you may frame the rules, but if the entire group comes out, okay, we are not following your rules, then what will you do? Nothing you can do. So groups have more influence. Friendly supervision ensures good results, better morale, and healthy interpersonal relations. So you should have a friendly supervision. Do not be a boss. Now, if we want to see what are the implications of this theory, how are you going to implement them? Fine. Now, I'll give you one example. We all know that Air India is facing certain trouble, and now the employees, once they were sitting there and they were feeling bad that now this Air India will be bought by the by somebody else. Actually, they are not getting the buyers, and these people, they felt that now, they will all get separated because they have to leave the company. So they were discussing, and they were not liking this scenario wherein they are leaving the organization because they had attachment with the organization as well as the attachment with the people. And when they were having the cup of tea, suddenly they said, why can't we buy our company? and the other person said, oh, we don't have money. Okay, let us find out the finances. And within that chit chat only, an idea came out, and they got the finances also, and now they are working the mechanism wherein the employees themselves are taking the stake in their own company, and they will become the partner. So the point which I am trying to make is these kind of social relations, because they had that kind of bonding, the bonding within the people, that led to bonding with the organization. And now they do not want to leave that, and they are even ready to pump in money, their hard earned money, into the company. So this is what personal relations have an impact. So if you want to see the implication in our day-to-day life, or in educational institutions, we should see to it that you are giving freedom to your employees. Give them proper work culture. Give them freedom. Let them interact with each other. In many organizations, we see that the higher management people, they do not want that the employees, they interact with each other. They do not want them to become a close knit group, because they always fear. As I said, groups have more influence on workers than organization rules. But they forget that if they are a good social group, then definitely that will lead to the higher production. So treat your employees well. If you will treat your employees well, then the productivity will increase. Give them freedom, be flexible, do not be rigid. So if you are treating them well, and even if you are not paying, you must have seen that many times people work free for others. If I know that you are undergoing a financial crunch, but you have treated me well sometime, and you are very considerate for me, then definitely I'll offer you my free services also. Like now they want to bring Air India back on track. So they are even ready to invest money into it. So these are some of the implications of this human relation approach. So this was the theories which Elton, Mayo and his colleagues, they pioneered into. And here for the first time, the human behavior was considered. It was considered that human relations are very important. So if you want to increase productivity, it is not by neglecting the human beings. The productivity does not have any kind of correlation with the physical facilities, but it is also related to the social factors. For the first time, it was accepted that social factors and the productivity are interrelated. So with this, we end up with the human relation theory given by Elton, Mayo.